Caitlin Clark got hacked in the last 2.9 seconds of the game. Caitlin Clark was hacked. No call. Should have been 3 free throws.
The game ends with DeWanna Bonner getting hacked with 8 seconds to go. DeWanna Bonner getting hacked.
As you can see after the game, Caitlin Clark and Sophie are both running up to the referee here. They are both so upset, and the referee is just walking away from them.
I thought she got fouled. You know, I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games.
To me, what stood out the most was there was a back-to-back sequence where DeWanna Bonner doesn't get a whistle here.
Y'all see what's happening right here? That is a WNBA referee turning his back to Caitlin Clark and the Fever.
I felt like the second half of Atlanta, at least at our place, was at least consistent.
It happened again another game, another controversial finish. The Indiana Fever took a tough loss against the New York Liberty, and this time fans aren't just frustrated, they're furious.
With many fans blaming the referees for their horrible officiating at the end of the game.
Footage has surfaced that shows referees not just missing calls, but completely turning their backs on her. It's not just bad officiating. It looks like a full-blown agenda.
That is a WNBA referee turning his back to Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Oh my God. I mean, he literally got his back turned, ignoring Caitlin. I mean, this is bad. This is bad. This is beyond bad, bro.
From missed calls to suspicious free throw gaps, it's becoming painfully clear something's not right. So why does it feel like the refs are helping the opponents? Let's break it all down.
Now, we all know with today's matchup with the WNBA, the referees was simply horrendous today, bro. I mean, on so many levels, the WNBA referees has cost Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever nearly a perfect record, bro. If you go back to the Atlanta game and now this one, look at how many free throws each team shoots.
We just watched the most blatant display of favoritism I've ever seen on a basketball court. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were flat out robbed. And it wasn't just bad luck, it was the refs. Straight up.
These WNBA referees need to be fined. Something needs to happen. I mean, the lack of calls against the New York Liberties was at an all-time high, bro. I mean, if this was an NBA game, a lot of players would have been fouled out. A lot of players would have been in deep foul trouble. The way Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever was getting fouled, it was just hard to watch at times.
With questionable calls piling up and her team clearly on the wrong end of the whistle, even head coach Stephanie White couldn't stay silent any longer. Something's not right in the WNBA, and fans are finally starting to speak up. The Indiana Fever just lost a nail-biter to the New York Liberty, but the real story isn't the score, it's what happened on the court, or rather what didn't happen.
The New York Liberty were at the line 32 times to the Fever's 15, and it was just so obvious. Now, I get calling fouls, I get not calling fouls, but in this instance, there were similar fouls that were not getting called on the New York Liberty that were going towards the Fever.
That's exactly what fans witnessed during the New York Liberty versus Indiana Fever matchup. Caitlin Clark, arguably the biggest name in women's basketball right now, seemed to be fighting two battles on the court, one against the opposing team and one against the refs. Something wild is going on in the WNBA, and it's impossible to ignore anymore. Caitlin Clark, one of the most talked about rookies in the league, isn't just battling opponents on the court. She's battling the refs too. The referees weren't just missing calls, they were handing the game to the opponents, and fans are furious.
When it comes to Caitlin Clark, she's not particularly happy either. She's not particularly happy either about the refs. And the referees are they're screwing her. They're absolutely screwing her, and they've screwed her for 3 games in a row.
Now, it's not just fans noticing. Even her own coach, Stephanie White, has had enough. From missed fouls to suspicious officiating, the spotlight is turning on the referees. Caitlin Clark, one of the most electrifying rookies the league has ever seen, is making headlines again, but this time, it's not for her dazzling passes or deep three-point shots.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable.
Caitlin Clark's night was a roller coaster both for her and everyone watching. She ended the game with a double-double, putting up 10 points and 10 assists, but the numbers don't tell the full story. For most of the game, she was ice cold. Shot after shot, especially from 3, just wouldn't fall. Obvious fouls were being ignored right in front of the cameras, and it didn't take an expert to see it. I mean, my 4-year-old son could have called some of those plays, but the refs, they didn't even flinch. It was like they had already decided how the game was going to go, no matter what happened on the court.
Caitlin Clark, she ended the night with 10 points and 10 assists, but the biggest moment of the game last night was when she finally snapped her cold streak. I think she had missed 8 threes in the game before she finally hit one, and you could see on her face and her body language that it was really starting to get to her. And if you guys remember, the game before this one was her first game since her sophomore year in college that she hadn't made a 3-pointer, and she was cold for most of the game, and she was missing these threes like we haven't seen her miss threes, like bricks off the opposite side of the rim.
Go back just a few games to the matchup against Atlanta, and you'll see the same pattern. Clark and her team getting hacked at the rim with no whistle, while their opponents strolled to the free throw line like it's a parade. Aaliyah Boston was getting hacked every time she touched the ball down low. Pushes, elbows, everything, no whistles. Caitlin Clark got smacked on the arm multiple times driving to the basket, still nothing. The refs turned a blind eye like they had somewhere else to be.
Aaliyah Boston hacked every damn play. Every time Caitlin Clark fed up the ball, Aaliyah Boston was getting hacked. Time after time after time again. Play after play after play. Caitlin Clark give Aaliyah Boston the ball. Aaliyah Boston hacked down low, push down low, no call, no call.
White made it clear her team deserves respect, and they're not getting it. Her tone was sharp, her words deliberate, as she called out what she described as egregious officiating. A -31 free throw discrepancy over the last few games, despite the Fever attacking the rim and playing aggressively, painted a clear picture in her eyes, one of imbalance and disrespect.
Where there's a level of physicality allowed against them, and they're not allowed to reciprocate on the other end. That particularly, of course, goes for Caitlin Clark. So by White speaking up, not only is it a tactic to get a better whistle from the refs, but it's also a statement to say, I've got your backs to the team. And I think it needed to be said, particularly when applying it to the Indiana Fever.
What stood out wasn't just the fierce competition. It was the staggering imbalance in foul calls. The Liberty went to the line 32 times. The Fever, only 15. The discrepancy was impossible to ignore. Similar fouls were being called against the Fever, but overlooked when committed by the Liberty. What should have been a competitive, fair matchup ended up looking like something much worse. It didn't feel like a poorly officiated game. It felt like a rigged one. Now, no one's saying it actually was rigged, but the way it looked, Caitlin Clark, like always, was in the middle of it. She was clearly fouled not once, but multiple times, yet the whistle never came. The most glaring moment?
We got to talk about it. We have got to talk about this game because it was the refereeing. We know it was terrible. We absolutely know the refereeing was shocking. Like, it was one of the worst referee games I've ever seen down the stretch. Like, it looked like it was rigged. It looked like it was rigged. There's no other way to describe it. It looked like it was rigged. I'm not saying it was rigged. I don't think it was rigged. It looked like it was rigged. And I tweeted this out last night.
On one possession, she went up for a game-changing shot and was grabbed by the hips. Her arms hit midair and nothing. No whistle, no justice. Meanwhile, on the other end, a ghost foul was called on Sabrina Ionescu that didn't even make sense. Naturally, fans and viewers expected her to use it, but to everyone's surprise, she didn't. And that decision left many questioning her judgment. As it turns out, White couldn't challenge the call at all. Fans were stunned. Replays showed what looked like obvious contact on Clark. Yet the refs swallowed their whistles when it mattered most. It wasn't just a missed call, it felt deliberate.
She got literally 2 hands on her hips as she goes up, threw her hand and got a bit of the ball.
In my opinion, it looked like Natasha Cloud probably fouled her. It was not called. The referees love to swallow their whistles at that time, that part of the game. But then again, they did not swallow their whistles with the foul call on Lexi Hall against Sabrina Ionescu just 3 seconds earlier.
While the game was full of highs and lows, it was the officiating that truly stole the spotlight and not in a good way. As the final moments unfolded, the focus shifted from the scoreboard to the whistle, or rather, the lack of it. Even head coach Stephanie White couldn't stay silent after the game. And honestly, who could blame her? She was fired up, and rightfully so. In her post-game comments, she didn't hold back, calling the situation egregious. She pointed to a -31 free throw discrepancy over the past few games. But the whistle? Silent. Natasha Cloud had her arm wrapped around Clark like it was wrestling, not basketball. Anyone watching saw it. Everyone knew what happened, but the refs turned a blind eye.
You know, I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. You know, a -31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim.
Back-to-back threes, crossing defenders, hitting buzzer beaters, she was straight up cooking. It didn't matter how many times they hit her, how many calls she didn't get, she just kept fighting. She brought the Fever all the way back from a 15-point deficit and had the entire arena on its feet. Just seconds later, the Liberty's Sabrina Ionescu drove into Lexi Hull, initiating contact, and this time, the whistle blew. Those turned out to be the winning free throws. The inconsistency was glaring.
Caitlin Clark got the cooking. Back-to-back threes, buzzer-beating threes, cooking, crossing over Sabrina Ionescu. We're going to go over some of the highlights. But I'm telling you right now, bro, it is sad. I damn near want to punch the screen right now because these referees just cost Caitlin Clark and that damn basketball team a win.
Caitlin Clark didn't have her best night, and yet she still managed to put up numbers that most would consider solid 18 points, 10 assists, and 5 rebounds. But it wasn't just about the stat sheet. Anyone watching could see it was a tough game for her, both physically and mentally. A tweet from Rachel Data recently stirred the pot even further. She pointed out how the level of physicality in the league has been heavily criticized and how there's a deeper misunderstanding about who really controls how the game is called.
Caitlin Clark, you know, it was not her night, and it's crazy because when you say it's not Caitlin Clark's night, looking at what she came away with 18 points, she came away with 10 assists and 5 rebounds. Now, she had a lot of turnovers. Some of them were not her fault, some of them were. And she had a really hard time beyond the arc, coming away with 2 for 7 three-pointers.
Even Clark herself, normally composed, couldn't hide her emotion. After a no call in a critical moment, she threw her arms up in the air, shouted in frustration, and even punched the air. A replay clearly showed Natasha Cloud pushing her in the shoulder yet again. Nothing was called. People watching the game in real time couldn't believe their eyes. The officials weren't even subtle. They let obvious fouls slide, awarded questionable free throws, and ignored crucial moments where the game should have shifted.
Caitlin Clark furious WNBA refs, they failed to call a whistle. She threw her arms up in the air, yelled at WNBA refs, and punched the air in frustration after controversial no call cost her team the chance to knock off defending champions Liberty.
As she went up for a shot, Liberty's Natasha Cloud aggressively ripped the ball away from her. No whistle, no foul, just silence. And with that, the game was sealed in New York's favor. Stephanie White couldn't stay quiet anymore. The chemistry between Clark and Aaliyah Boston was electric classic pick and rolls, quick passes through tight spaces, and alley-oops that brought the crowd to life. At times, it looked like the beginning of a legendary duo forming right in front of our eyes.
This is about to be another dish to Aaliyah Boston, of which there were several really great
a couple of consecutive stops
in this game. Right here, Caitlin Clark's got the ball, and that little lob over the top, beautiful. I mean, it really was beautiful. Let me be the first to say the Caitlin Clark to Aaliyah Boston, the sort of old school pick and roll, Stockton Malone, you know, that works. All right, they've got a very deadly two-man game when they have it working, and Caitlin Clark can sort of.
What happened in this game wasn't an isolated incident, and that's what makes it more alarming. Across the WNBA, complaints about officiating have become louder, more frequent, and more public. Players, coaches, fans, everyone seems to be saying the same thing. Something has to change. And if anyone out there still thinks this is all just exaggeration or emotional talk, just watch the footage. There's now actual video showing a WNBA referee turning his back on Caitlin Clark during a critical moment in the game,
Something even I tweeted last night, after every single game, WNBA players, fans, coaches are all complaining about the referees, and they have shown that they're not going to change anything because the referees continue to be horrible in these games.
Why was the offense shifted away from the very player who gives Indiana its best chance to win? In the first half, Clark was practically taken out of the game plan. And speaking of that, where was Stephanie White? The Fever had a challenge left. She could have stopped the game, forced the refs to take another look, but she didn't. She just let it go. That decision, or lack of one, had people scratching their heads. You've got your star player getting hacked in the final seconds, and you don't even challenge it? That's a hard one to justify.
This right here is ridiculous. Natasha Cloud straight up fouled Caitlin Clark. And and then Stephanie White is in hot water too because she didn't challenge it. She didn't challenge no call whatsoever. They had a challenge left to use, and Stephanie White did not use it, bro. She could have challenged that final play, bro.
Aaliyah Boston continues to shine. Kelsey Mitchell is making sharp reads. And even with Clark in a shooting slump, her playmaking has been strong. But when you're already up against seasoned rosters like the Liberty, and then you add officiating that feels one-sided, it becomes almost impossible to come out on top.
The Fever are right there, right? They are right there. They were down 15, then they were up 12. Kelsey Mitchell made some nice reads in this game, some nice passes. Aaliyah Boston continues her spectacular start to the season. Duana Bonner made some tough rebounds, even though she struggled with her shot. Lexi Hull gets in the starting lineup, which was an interesting change from Stephanie White. Clark had some ill-advised turnovers. I thought she made some great passes too, struggling with the shot as of late. She looked like to be honest, she looked like she's dealing with a cold or something in both the pre and the post-game press conference, but you got to figure her shot will round into form, and that's a hell of an opponent they were facing. But when you're facing an opponent that good, you also can't be facing the officials.
Watching this game, it became impossible to ignore how many times contact was made against Caitlin Clark with no reaction from the refs. Natasha Cloud, in particular, was relentless in her physical coverage, and still the whistle stayed silent. What's worse is the double standard that's clearly playing out on the court. Players with a reputation for being tough seem to get away with murder defensively. They throw elbows, reach in, and play with a level of physicality that would get anyone else benched, but the refs let it slide.
Natasha Cloud is covering Caitlin Clark, and obviously, as shown right here, she is holding Caitlin Clark by the waist. She taps her shoulder right there. I mean, the amount of times that Tosh Cloud made contact with Caitlin Clark is endless. And again, it's really hard to watch a game and watch a game this close that is completely reliant on the refereeing.
Then came this latest game, and once again, it wasn't just about letting contact slide, it felt deliberate. Even the commentators couldn't keep a straight face. They were laughing at how obvious the missed calls were. What's even worse is how this isn't just one game. It's a pattern of mismanagement, both on the floor and off it. The referees were horrible, no doubt, but the Fever didn't do themselves any favors either.
Mabry smacked her in the face, and like literally, the commentators are laughing. The commentators are laughing at it. Like it's laughable. It is absolutely laughable, some of the stuff. And like, you're seeing it here, obviously Caitlin Clark, furious WNBA refs, they failed to call a whistle. She threw her arms up in the air, yelled at WNBA refs, and punched the air in frustration after controversial no call cost her team the chance to knock off defending champions Liberty.
According to Stephanie White, the missed foul on Caitlin Clark was just one part of a much bigger problem, a shocking lack of respect for the entire team. She pointed out a staggering minus 31 free throw discrepancy. Despite the Fever constantly attacking the rim, she's battling on every possession, not just against defenders, but against a system that doesn't seem eager to protect her. And that's what makes this more than basketball. It's about respect. And right now, it feels like Caitlin Clark isn't getting hers. Not from the refs, not from the league, but she's earning it every single game.
Look, this proves they can play with the New York Liberty, okay? There were still times where Caitlin Clark played off the ball too much again in this game. All right, it wasn't nearly as egregious as the other day, but especially towards the beginning of the game, they were playing off the ball. And guess what? New York Liberty ran out to a big lead. But Caitlin Clark is the best when she's got the ball in her hand and she's able to be the playmaker, be the quarterback. All right, whether it's distributing the ball or shooting shots or even driving to the lane.
So, was this just another tough loss, or is Caitlin Clark truly being targeted by the refs? One thing's for sure, the Indiana Fever are battling more than just their opponents. What we saw wasn't just bad officiating, it was a message. And if we stay silent, it'll keep happening. Between the missed calls, the silence from the whistle, and the questionable coaching choices, fans have every right to be fired up.
You want to scream at the top of your lungs. The officiating is bad. It does ruin games. But the Indiana Fever shouldn't have let the New York Liberty make the run that they did and get within 2 points. You wouldn't have been in this situation. And that wasn't because of the referees. That was because of the coaching and how the girls started playing once they were up by double digits.
We all need to come together, and like all content creators, and like we need to band together to like make hella videos and get these WNBA referees up out of here, bro. Like we all, even if we all got to do like a live collab, I don't give a damn. Every Indiana Fever content creator need to come to band together like the damn Avengers and get these referees out of here, because one voice is not enough. We need all of the voices.
Man, that game was hard to watch, not because the Fever didn't fight, but because they weren't given a fair shot. The Indiana Fever are fighting on the court and now against the whistle. Stephanie White has spoken, and the message is clear. Enough is enough. Caitlin Clark isn't just taking hits from opponents, she's taking them from the refs too. It's about fairness, it's about consistency. And right now, Caitlin Clark and the fans aren't getting either. Caitlin Clark isn't just playing against opponents, she's playing against the whistle. And when the refs become part of the story, something's seriously wrong. Caitlin Clark is being targeted, and the refs are letting it happen. Whether it's bias, politics, or something deeper, the league needs to answer for what we just witnessed.
Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever was getting fouled. It was just hard to watch at times. Now, granted, they rallied back from a 15-1 lead. From a 15-point deficit. But guys, I'm telling you right now, the referees are the storyline in this one, bro.
Clark had some ill-advised turnovers. I thought she made some great passes too. Struggling with the shot as of late. She looked like to be honest, she looked like she's dealing with a cold or something in both the pre and the post-game press conference. But you got to figure her shot will round into form.
When it comes to Caitlin Clark, like she's not particularly happy either. She's not particularly happy either.
And now the league can't ignore it. If the WNBA wants to grow, protecting its biggest stars has to be a priority. Let us know what you think are the refs helping opponents. Is Clark being held back? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more raw sports truth right here.